Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I must sincerely apologize for the long delay in transmission. We were having technical issues from our guest's end. So, hey, we are here. Thank God. Today, as you are aware, we're going to talk about depression after sexual abuse. And we've got a representative from AmaCare organization, and she's in the person of Mrs. Patience Ejare. She's a registered mental health nurse and officer in Ghana. Mrs. Patience Ejare, you're welcome to Heritage TV, Hanging Out with Vicky.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you for having me, and a warm welcome to our Cherry's viewers.
Great. And I also have to thank you for your patience. Going back and forth, trying to get you on steadily. So we thank God. Yeah, I have to go straight to the point. Could you please give us a little bit, even though we know your title as a registered nurse, a mental nursing officer, just give us a little background, how you got to become the registered mental health nurse, and how you got into contact with AmaCare.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for having me once again. So my name is Patience Ejare. As a registered mental health nurse, I've been working in Ghana's premier psychiatric hospital, the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, for close to 11 years.
Wow.
And I chose to become a mental health nurse because growing up, I used to find people around in the streets, and sometimes they'll be lying by the streets, and I kept asking so many questions. Why are these group of people not, if they're not well, why are they not being taken care of in the hospital?
Yeah.
And then my curiosity led me to discover that there is actually a program that you could, train to become a mental health nurse, and then you can provide support for this group of people who have mental health challenges. And so I said, yes, I want to be a mental health nurse because I want to support these individuals, this category of people in our society. And so mine is more of a passion that I get to live, and so it's something that I really love to. And people who know me knows how I work and how I engage with persons with mental health experiences. And having worked for all these years, I think my greatest motivation has also increased as a result of my own life experiences, and how that also one way or the other impacts and gives us the reality that mental health experiences are real. It lives with us, and so we can only show up for each other and be a little kind to each other.
And how did you become part of AmaCare?
Yes, so AmaCares.org is an organization that is in the community supporting people who, have experienced childhood abuses, and supporting them to gain, the strength, find empowerment, and be able to achieve their goals. And looking at the work that we do, it's really fulfilling to work with AmaCares, reaching out to people in the community, supporting them to feel empowered and to find their voice, to discover themselves in ways that they never thought they could. And so working with AMA Cares has really added up to my passion of reaching out to people. And so the work that AMA Cares does really goes a long way to bring hope, and put smiles on the face of people in our communities who are experiencing various forms of challenges. And I think it's a great work that AMA Cares is doing, and they need our support. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So going straight to the topic, because time is fast spent. Yes. Depression after sexual abuse. Why depression after sexual abuse?
Yes. Yeah, I know it's quite interesting. We usually, sexual abuse or sexuality is something that we usually do not talk about for the most part. It doesn't come up often in our conversations.
Yes.
However, it is a very important subject that needs to be addressed. And a lot of people are suffering in silence as a result of not having, the ability to voice out what is meaningful, what is important to them. And so I'm excited that at AMA Cares, we get to have some of these meaningful conversations to create the awareness that it's important for us to talk about this. And so people who have experienced sexual abuse get in a drift. They experience so much pain. They go through.
Hello, Patience. Patience, are you there? Hello, Patience. Yes. Okay. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So sexual abuse is trauma. And let me say that difficult feelings and behaviors are a normal response to traumatic events happening around us.
Yes.
And so for somebody who has experienced sexual abuse, that person has experienced trauma. And we can only validate the experiences that this individual is going through. And so such trauma brings a lot of impact on a person's feelings, thoughts, behaviors. It affects him or her entire self. And so it is important that we talk about it and explore how these experiences impact on the individual. Now, depression is a given. I mean, having experienced sexual abuse, you're definitely validated to experience depression. And we all know that depression is a mood, disorder, which affects the individual's whole self. Feelings of health hopelessness, you experience feelings of guilt, shame, worthlessness, and in fact, it is something that robs the individual of their entire ability to achieve their goals in life.
Yeah.
And that is why we need to talk about it. So if somebody has experienced sexual abuse and the individual is experiencing or going through depression, it is validated. It is 100% because that is a traumatic circumstance and we can only validate the individual's experiences. And so for people who have gone through sexual abuse, a typical observation that you would see in this individual include
Loss of appetite. So in this case, they're sleeping more or sleeping less. Usually, their spouse is isolating themselves.
Okay.
So in the sleep or usually found later, they are, So these are just some of the few observations that we can see around people who are experiencing or going through depression as a result of sexual abuse. And it is
Abuse.
real.
Mm.
It is real. So let us not down go through a round to experience depression. And that is why we
Mm.
need to have this conversation. It's important. And if we
Mm.
don't talk about it and we don't give them the help that they need, it can lead to suicide.
Wow.
Because then they're going to they have a feeling of loss of identity, loss of power. It's like these individuals need support to
Mm.
recover their lives, to take back control of their lives, and they
Mm-hmm.
need support.
Okay. So, what are some of the signs we should look out for if someone is going through depression after sexual abuse? Is there a list, a checklist that you look at to ascertain whether you've got depression? I remember you've mentioned sleeping disorders. Some even can go to the extent of committing suicide. What are some of the other warning signs?
Yes, Vicky, thank you so much for your question. Now, other signs that we should look out for is frequent crying and bouts of sadness. If
Yes.
you observe this individual, frequently sobbing bouts of sadness, crying, feelings of hopelessness, their language, the kind of
Okay.
language they use usually is one that doesn't, you know, doesn't bring out hope. It's like
Mm, mm,
I'm useless. I'm not good enough. I
mm.
don't know why I'm alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you hear them saying such things, it gives you a prompt that they may be going through or dealing with some very, serious feelings. Again, anxieties. Anxiety is one
Okay.
of the things that you need to look at, where the individual will usually avoid, public places or confrontations or engaging with. And when you have managed to engage with this person, they can't even maintain eye contact.
Mm, mm,
They can maintain eye
mm.
contact.
Okay.
That should immediately let you know that they may be dealing with some form of challenges. Again,
Mm.
there is difficulty in activities that these individuals used to love. So if this person usually likes to go out, to dress up, to make up, to keep their hair or dressing, you realize that these activities they lose interest in doing
Okay.
the things that they used to love. Now
Mm.
there is also unexplained complaints, physical body pains. Today my head, tomorrow my knee, the next day it's like giving complaints, unexplained complaints, very body pain, and you can't really tell what is bringing about these, pains. Again, there is also difficulty in concentration. There is also difficulty in concentration. There are changes in weight. It's either the person is gaining weight or losing weight, because everybody is unique. We are all unique and we all respond differently to trauma. I mean, we don't all have the
Okay. Okay.
So these are some of the changes that we should look out for people or someone who is experiencing depression as a result
Okay.
of sexual abuse.
Okay. Okay. And may I also add to some of the lists you mentioned? I think they also try to self-harm as well, and substance abuse because they just want to cover it up. and disassociation, because there are some particular clique of people that you are usually in their company, but it looks like you're a bit withdrawn. You don't want to associate yourself with people. Am I right on that?
Absolutely, Vicky. You are right. Yes, absolutely.
Right. So, since you've taken us through some of the the red flags, to tell us we are going through depression after sexual abuse, the next thing is recovery. How do we recover from this?
Yes. Thank you so much, Vicky. This is the part that I really want us to focus on, because coming from a wellness and recovery perspective,
Yeah.
we get to focus on what is strong and not what is wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
All right. So from a strength-based perspective, it is possible to recover. And how do we do this? So we get to practice what I call the 5 integrated, practices, otherwise known as the 5 recovery concepts.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to share with our viewers 5 key recovery concepts that we can incorporate into our lives in order to help us recover our identity, recover our purpose, and take back control of our lives.
Okay.
So if you or anybody has experienced sexual abuse and is dealing with depression, it is possible to recover. That is the first thing that I want our viewers to know.
It's not a life sentence.
No, it is not a hopeless situation. And I think to begin with, we need to be in acceptance that this is what has happened. It is never your fault.
Yes.
You do not need to blame yourself for anything. It is never your fault. However, once you are alive, you get to keep moving and achieve your goals. But how do you do that? It requires us to be conscious and be intentional with accepting what has happened.
Yeah.
Now, the first key concept I want to talk about, recovery concept or practices that we can use to recover, is hope. Having hope.
Okay.
Yes. Hope is the thing that gives us, that assurance that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
So having hope would help us to understand that, yes, it happened. And yet, I could live life the way that I want to. If only I can have hope that things would be better tomorrow. So hope is one of the first key concept that I want to share with our viewers. In recovering ourselves, in taking back control of our lives, we need to have hope.
Yeah.
The second key concept that I want to talk about is personal responsibility. Now, personal responsibility means being accountable for our own actions and inactions.
Yeah.
Now, whatever happened, it is important that we become present with ourselves and ask the question, how have I contributed to this? What role did I play? And in being accountable for our own actions, we get to explore what we can do differently by making different choices.
Yeah.
So personal responsibility, being accountable for our own actions would help us to be in a place where we are able to recover ourselves. So that is the second concept or practices that I want to share. The third one that I want to share is self-advocacy.
Okay.
Now, if you or somebody you know has experienced sexual abuse and is going through depression, advocating for yourself will mean you calmly, consistently ask for what you want until you get it.
Okay.
Reaching out to others for support. You do not need to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
But then the fact is that nobody knows what you want. You are an expert on yourself. You know what is meaningful to you. You know what is important to you. And so only you know what you need in order to feel well. So go out there, advocate for yourself, ask for support, and then you will get it. So self-advocacy means reaching out, asking for what you want calmly and respectfully until you get the help you need.
So does that mean
to be silent?
Does that mean participating in social activities?
Exactly. That forms part of it. That will be part of it. So reaching out. So if I am going through, if I'm experiencing depression and I know Vicky is out there, I can talk to Vicky.
Yes.
Nothing stops me from advocating for myself, asking Vicky, I need your support.
Right.
So going out and then giving ourselves permission, to engage with others, allow other people to be a part of our lives.
Yes.
That way we can recover more quickly than keeping to ourselves, remaining silent and not wanting to talk about it.
But Patience, sorry to cut in here with this particular point of participating in social activities. In our African community, people judge us a lot and tag us. So, when you're trying to get close to people or trying to join or participate in social activities, there is this fear that you are going to be tagged. Like people will say that you are not right up there, something like that. That fear, how do we overcome that?
I believe that, people's opinions about us do not really matter. I think it's time we get a consciousness around that. We live our lives for others.
Yeah.
There's a tendency for us to continuously live life pleasing others, being conscious of what people will think, what people will say,
yes.
how people will feel.
Spot on.
These are the very things.
Yeah.
These are the very things that are robbing us of our whole best self.
Right.
These are the things that are robbing us of being who we are, connecting with our natural selves.
Yep.
So it is time for us to focus more on our self-worth. What do I think about myself? And that is the most important thing in life. Please, to our cherished viewers, it is time we break that notion of focusing on what others think about
us.
That is not important. It is not important. The opinion you hold about yourself is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So let us feel free and connect with ourselves, connect with the environment. Let us go where we are accepted, where our experiences are validated. You do not need somebody's opinion to be who you want to be. No.
Okay.
You don't. So I hope that I have answered your question, Vicky. But again, this requires a great deal of consciousness. We need to be intentional with ourselves in not focusing on what others think about us.
Okay.
It is what we think about ourselves. That is the most important thing.
Okay. Are there any more points, to help us recover from depression after sexual abuse?
So, yes. So the 4th point I want to make is talking about education. Okay. It is important that having experienced or having gone through sexual abuse, it is important that we learn all we can about the situation.
Yes.
So that we can make informed decisions.
Yeah.
When you have enough knowledge about your circumstances, it is much easier to make decisions and to know your next level, your next step.
Yeah.
But if you do not learn about the situation or your circumstance, there is no shame in learning about your circumstance. It is rather a strength, and it goes a long way to make you feel empowered. Because then you know what that means. You know what that circumstance or that situation
Right. Hello, Patience. Are you there?
Hi, Vicky.
Yeah. Go on then. Yeah.
Yeah. So again,
We
I
lost you
was talking about
slightly. Yeah.
the fourth point, which is education, meaning that we get to learn all we can about our circumstance so that we can make informed decisions, whether it's about living space, whether it's about what tools and strategies we need, whether it's about how we can revitalize ourselves, reconnect with ourselves, and move on.
Okay.
Feel stuck. We don't need to feel stuck. And so, learning all you can about the circumstance will go a long way to make us feel empowered to make the right decisions for ourselves.
Mm.
And then the last point is support.
Okay.
Support. It is very essential. People who have experienced sexual abuse need support. And how
Yes.
can someone who has experienced sexual abuse get the support they need? Now, it is important that you identify at least 5 people
Mm-hmm.
in your network who can be your support system. And
Okay.
when I say support, it isn't somebody who will pay your bills, somebody who would provide your meals, but someone who will listen. Supporters are people who validate our experiences. Supporters are people who can carry out a predetermined plan when we are not able to do so. Supporters are people who understand what we are dealing with. They are able to share and have fun with us, and they are able to give us the strength, the empowerment that we need. These are people we can say as supporters. So every individual would benefit from having at least 5 people in your network who can contribute or be part of your support system. And we all need support regardless of our experiences at any given point in time. So it is important that we give ourselves permission to connect with other people. So I've been talking about
Okay.
5 key recovery concepts. I mentioned hope,
Yep. Yep.
personal
Personal
responsibility,
responsibility. Yep.
self advocacy,
Advocacy. Yep.
education,
Mm-hmm.
and support.
Yeah.
And I refer to these as creative practices. These practices will support us or help us to recover ourselves, to take back control of our lives, and be able to achieve our goals as much as we can. Because remember,
Okay.
if you are not well, you cannot achieve your goals. And so,
Yes.
people who have experienced sexual abuse are deserving of help. I mean, one sexual abuse or depression does not define him or her. We are
Yep.
all just trying to be our best and hope that we will turn a corner where people will feel safe, people will feel empowered to seek help,
Yep.
whatever the cause of their struggles. So, I mean, if you or anybody you know is dealing with any form of challenges, struggles as a result of sexual abuse, you are not alone. I want you to know that you are not alone. Good news, right?
Right. Mrs. Ejare, there's one thing that is really close to my heart, and that thing is um the contribution of the church towards such vulnerable people. Is the church doing enough to help these people?
Thank you so much for this question, Vicky. I think that our religious bodies can do better, in terms of the interpretation and the assessment
Yeah.
that we make around trauma and the effects of trauma on the individual.
Yeah.
Regardless of your faith, regardless of your level of spirituality, trauma is trauma. And trauma can rob us of our inner self. Trauma can rob us of the rest of our lives. And so I find it quite difficult when we try to use spirituality to cover up on people who have gone through trauma, and we can't even validate their experiences. It's really
exactly.
challenge,
Mm,
and it's got nothing to do with spirituality. It's got nothing to do with, how much faith you have. The individual has experienced trauma, and we need to deal with it. We need to say it as it is and deal with the situation as it is, and not make it sound as if you're a Christian or if you are a religious person, you don't have to show your pain. You don't have to express, the effects of a challenge, of a struggle. We are emotional beings. And as human beings, there's a common thread. We all have feelings, we all have thoughts, we all have behavior, actions. And remember, these events happening around us have a great deal of impact on our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. Remember, the way we feel informs the kind of thoughts that goes through our mind. And these thoughts manifest into the behaviors that we exhibit. So there is no way somebody who has experienced trauma, you would want to suppress the individual in the name of religiosity or religion. It doesn't work, and it is not helpful. It doesn't support them to heal. So that is why we have to deal with trauma as it is, and not, try and confuse it with spirituality or religion or religion. It's got nothing. Trauma has got nothing to do with how much you have or your level of spirituality. So we need to deal with it as it is. Thank you for this question.
Yeah, because I'm still on this church issue. The reason why I'm saying this is usually people when they are vulnerable, the first place they go to is the church. And when they go to the church, what the head of the church or the pastors usually will do is counseling. That's all they can do. Now, the reason why I'm still, talking about the church issue is because a lot of people, when they are vulnerable, they've been abused sexually, they don't go to these, support groups. They feel the first point of call or where they can take solace is in the church. But then the question is, are the the pastors or those in charge trained enough to give the necessary support to these people who come to the church? Because we should all agree that it's not everybody who will be able to go to these support groups and all these points that you've raised. The first place they want to go is to go straight to the church and speak to the pastor. And the only thing the pastor would do is to give counseling. Now, the question is that a pastor who's giving counseling trained enough to give the right support? Patience, are you with me? Hello, Patience?
Yes, Vicky.
Yes. Did you get the question?
Can you hear me? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did hear you.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And to talk about, we are not empowered to be assertive.
Yes.
Now, for the most part, when these individuals who have experienced abuse run to the pastors, run to our pastors or spiritual leaders.
Yes,
The idea is to get the person to shut down on it and not talk about it. So it's like you are disempowered.
Okay.
It's more of a disempowerment than empowering the person to actually bring out the perpetrator and let it serve as a deterrent to other people. But what our religious leaders, most of them do, is to let the person feel bad about the experience and not talk about it
in the name of, but the truth is that you have to name it and shame it.
And shame it, yeah.
Yes, when you name it, you take out the power of that particular activity or event. And so I think another thing that is accounting for this challenge is not most would not feel empowered to even openly say that I am not happy with how you have treated me. I am not happy about your behavior, your attitude. For the most part, keep quiet and dismiss. There is a tendency to just cut off. We cut off the person, we cut off the situation, and then leave it hanging, which is very unhealthy. Rather, what we need to do is to confront the issue, deal with it head on. That is the only way we can avoid many more of such situations occurring. So our religious, leaders can do better. I mean, they can do better by empowering the individual to really, talk about it, deal with the situation, and then engage with the person who has, caused this, disempowerment to the individual. So honestly speaking, Vicky, our religious leaders can do better. And talking about whether they have the needed skills to even offer counseling to persons who have experienced, that is another topic for another day. Because trust me, there are very important aspects that you touch on. Talking about self-esteem, the confidence of the individual, how the individual has been robbed of their self-esteem, their confidence, and it requires evidence-based strategies to help this individual to recover. So again, I mean, we need professionals to be doing this kind of counseling and offering support to persons who have experienced sexual abuse.
Wonderful. Mrs. Patience Ejare, you've really done justice to this topic. But I'm just praying that we'll have you on again, because I can sense you've got a lot to offer us. Before we round up, I just want you to, if someone is watching us and is going through depression, after sexual abuse, just in the summary, what do you want to tell the person so that the person can go to the right place for the right help?
Right. So I would like to say that to our cherished viewers, if you are struggling and you don't know why, I want you to know that your struggle is valid and you are so deserving of help. If you are struggling because of a hard time or genetics or any other reason, your struggle matters and you are so deserving of help. If you are struggling because of an assault, it was 100% not your fault and you're deserving of peace matters. Okay, helps you to find expert mental health resources to recover in the community. AMACARE is a non-profit organization that advocates against child sexual abuse. We exist in the community to create awareness and to change the perception about abuse. And we also help them on 2415. I'll take the number again. 03301332415. You can also reach us via email at info@amacares.org. info@amacares.org. Feel free and visit our website at www.amacares.org. And remember, if you need someone to talk to, we are here to listen. We are here to make you feel empowered. We are here to validate your experience. So reach out. Don't suffer in silence. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's wonderful. Mrs. Patience Ajari, thank you so much. Myself, I've also learned a lot from it. I just know about depression, but not into details. So with the information that I've received today, I will be in a better position to advise someone who is going through these depression after sexual abuse and direct them to the right place to seek help. So Patience Ajari, we thank you so much. We wish you all the best, but we are hoping that we'll have you back in our studio again another time. Take care of yourself and stay safe. Regards to the family. Right?
Yes, Vicky. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure. I look forward to another great section again.
Wonderful. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there you are. Mrs. Patience Ajari, a mental health officer, registered mental health officer, has been discussing with us depression after sexual abuse. And she's one of the representatives from amacares.org. And she's giving all the details. So if you need any help, advice, go straight to amacares.org and get all that information. Contact them and they'll be right there to help you. On that note, I'd like to say a big thank you for your patience. Stay with me throughout the show. Very much appreciated. I adore you. And I also like to say finally that our prayers are with the protesters in Nigeria and SARS. We pray for those who have lost their lives, and we pray for God's protection on the country Nigeria. Also, follow the COVID-19 protocol as well. Stay safe. I love you. Take care. Bye.